This Ramadan.
Welcome back. The time is 9:46. You're still tuned in to your Ramadan companion, which is Salam Media. I'm still Salailo Makwineri. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been with us from the beginning of the show until now, you remember that I mentioned that March 30th, which is tomorrow, is Palestine Land Day. This is the 47th anniversary of Land Day, which has become a symbol of resistance against the Israeli occupation and historical Palestine lands. The Palestine people are, as we know them to be, very, very courageous people that are an example, I think, to all of us across the world about what resistance means against a force like the Israeli occupier forces. And I think this interview that my colleague Aisha Kaji had, I think it was last week, was a really, really insightful one into the struggle of the people of Palestine to reclaim their stolen land by Israeli occupying forces. She had a really, really good panel, which included Adnan Barq, a Palestinian journalist and content creator from Jerusalem, and also Adnan Buttu, a Palestinian lawyer, writer, and analyst. Stay tuned for this really, really insightful interview, and me and you will see each other when it ends.
It's not just that they're offering this land that, again, doesn't belong to them to South Africans or to Canadians, but because of the nature of the Israeli legal system and the laws that they've set up, Palestinians can't buy that land. So, for example, I want to give you a simple example of the people who are from Jenin refugee camp. Many of the Palestinians who are living in the Jenin refugee camp originally come from places like Haifa, places that are now currently for sale, or other places that are around that area. These individuals are barred from being able to access their own land. And not only barred from accessing their own land, but they wouldn't be able to buy that land back either, because what the rules provide is that this land can only be purchased by people who are Jewish. Not in some areas, not, but for the most part, that's the way that it works. They have to either be Jewish or Israeli citizens. Now, what's important in all of this is that the state deliberately sets it up this way because they want to maintain this Jewish demographic, this Jewish majority. And a few years ago, there was a law that the Israelis passed, which is called the Admissions Committee Law. Now, to a South African audience, this should be, sending chills up the spine because there were similar laws in apartheid South Africa. And what that law says is that in certain size communities, it's okay for the residents of that community to choose whether a person is able to live in that area. So even on the faint chance that a Palestinian citizen of Israel is able to buy some of this land, these communities have the right to determine whether you're considered suitable or not. And if you're not suitable, not sell the land to you. And this, by the way, has been held up in the Israeli Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that has been lauded and applauded as being very liberal. And so you can see the way that the system works. It's a system that is designed to protect a Jewish demographic that is so struggling that it's trying to bring people in from Canada, from South Africa, from the United States, while at the same time denying Palestinians their right to return, their right to their land, and their right to their communities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Diana. Hold that thought. We'll come back to you both after the ad break. But before the ads, we're going to play a quick clip from Reem in Canada explaining how she found out about this.
I was fed an ad to evaluate and look into property in Israel. So obviously curiosity killed the cat. Having my grandfather being ethnically cleansed from his village in 1948, curiosity has always been there just generationally. So I was like, okay, let me see if maybe my land is up for sale. And upon, looking into it, it looked like that there were active listings in the West Bank. So funny enough that for that week that we had, it was kind of like a rabbit hole. You find one and then you end up finding more. But the one that I was served an ad to was one that was going to happen at a disability center in a predominantly Jewish area in Thornhill, which is about north, a little bit north of Toronto, not too far. It's still within the area. And the next one that was going to happen was on Thursday, but that was like from a different company. So it's just funny that like, it just starts off with like one, and then you start to realize there's way more beyond that. And going into their websites, you start to realize that they've been happening for a while. So it just looked like that they were going on, that they've been doing these kind of events, I want to say twice a year, maybe even quarterly. The one before this was in October, October 23rd. And I don't know, it kind of took me aback when I first saw it, because you know, there's an active unaliving of people. There's an active genocide happening in Gaza, and we can all say, or we can all follow the rhetoric of, oh, we're doing this to free the hostages, when really from the get-go, there have been predominant Israeli politicians and real estate agents that have said, we're making this ready to build more settlements and return, more Jewish settlers over there. So when you look at the root cause of all of this, it's really land grab.
It's absolutely the most, proper way to describe it. It is a literal land theft, especially that on the level of East Jerusalem, which is under the international law, is under occupation. There is an increase of 46% of settlers in the last 20 years, Israeli Jewish settlers, which is breaking the basic Fourth Geneva Convention. Article 49 that states the occupying power shall not deport or transfer its own citizens' population in a territory that it occupies. It's breaking directly this very basic Convention of Geneva. And by the way they market the thing internationally as if Palestine is some open space that needs more housing units for the Israeli settlers, as if it's empty and they need to fill it. It's so pathetic, especially that Palestinians, according to a study by the Israeli government itself, I'm not talking about a Palestinian NGO or any international NGO, Israel itself made a study and came up with the fact that Palestinians in Jerusalem annually need around 1,500 housing units just to fit their natural growth. And what do we get? House demolition, evacuation, and ads for settlers to come and resettle in our areas. How does this even make any sense? And now I just want to have this number rampage. From 2011 until 2023, there are 1,060 Palestinian structures were demolished, displacing more than 3,000 people, whom of them are among 2,300 children, only in the last decade. And they come and they promote the area as if it's some open space that you can come and bring any other foreign population to settle in. It just makes no sense, and it's very delusional. And to conclude my point, by the way, the former Israeli minister Ehud Barak, that's not even my opinion, it's his quotation, once said that the country could face a slippery slope toward apartheid. This is what the previous Israeli prime minister said. So imagine when it comes to our perspective, it's absolutely, it's beyond apartheid. And I had some South African friends visiting us, and they said that what they have been witnessing in Palestine is worse than South Africa. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, wow,
Absolutely. Former Archbishop Tutu once said that it's worse than apartheid. And I actually took him up on that, because I said, we were the originators, unfortunately, of apartheid. How could it be worse in Palestine? And he said to me, you need to go and see. And when I did come and see, I have to say I agree with him. Diana, I'm going to ask you, in terms of what we've spoken about already, in terms of the advertisements in Israeli newspapers advertising beachfront property for sale in Gaza, which is currently experiencing a genocide. Any thoughts on that? Up on our screen, of course, is the South African ad, just so that our viewers can see it.
Look, we know what Israel's plans are in Gaza. They've made it clear. They've not made it a secret. They want to carry out genocide, and they want to ethnically cleanse the place. And the Israeli settlers have made it clear that they want to go back to Gaza, a place that they shouldn't have been. and to rebuild some more settlements. So it's precisely clear what it is that they intend to do. And it's shocking to me that the world isn't taking Israel at its word. They've made it clear that they intend to commit genocide, and as they are. They've made it clear that they intend to carry out ethnic cleansing, and they are. And they've made it clear that they intend to steal more land and build Israeli settlements, and they are. So I don't know what more it's going to take for the world to wake up and recognize what it is doing, what Israel's doing, and to start putting economic sanctions against Israel and treating it like the pariah state that it is.